Hey, Marijuana Nation. Super sorry about the technical snafu that delayed the publication of yesterday's show. Long story short, I neglected to click a really important button yesterday and didn't notice that things didn't quite take until I was given a heads up about it via Twitter this morning. So, I screwed up. Big thanks to Twitter user Sparky for saving the day there. I'm going to be adding a step in my production workflow to prevent this from happening in the future because that sucks. Sorry. This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by the good folks over at Curaleaf, one of the leading vertically integrated cannabis operators in the U.S. Now with a total of 35 dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 10 processing facilities operating in 12 states. Curaleaf had a very productive 2018, growing to their current number of dispensaries from just 3 shops this time last year. Now, one of the largest operators of legal cannabis dispensaries in the U.S., Curaleaf knows they have a big responsibility when it comes to doing things right. That's why Curaleaf spends so much time and energy perfecting not only its retail flow, but also its product manufacturing and development. As Curaleaf's operations within states requiring vertical integration means that it has had to master the entire product supply chain, from cultivation through processing, packaging, and labeling. Swing over to Curaleaf.com to learn more about this quickly growing company and to find the closest Curaleaf location to you, because there's no better way to experience the Curaleaf difference than to stop by one of their dispensaries yourself. That's Curaleaf.com, with Curaleaf spelled Curaleaf. Thanks again to everyone at Curaleaf for supporting today's news. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, January 4th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 637 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start the day off with a chart, which we don't often do, but Marijuana Business Daily has a heck of a collection of charts showing how things went for legal marijuana fundraising in 2018. In short, it was a pretty stellar blockbuster year, with a total of $13.8 billion US raised in all, alongside 300 different merger and acquisition deals. For a bit of comparison, 2017's totals were just $3.5 billion in funding raised and 153 M&A deals. While last year did see a large outlier in the form of Canna's $4 billion investment from booze giant Constellation Brands, there was still nearly $10 billion in funding raised outside that one biggie. One interesting point on the weekly transactional chart is the fact that there was just 1 week in 2018 where some kind of M&A deal didn't happen in legal cannabis, with most weeks seeing around 6 or 7 deals closing. The New York Times wades into legal marijuana with a story about the difficult year California just went through in transitioning into full-blown legal adult use marijuana. January 1st of 2018 marked the day when the Golden State flipped on the basics of adult use ballot measure Proposition 64. As regular listeners know, there's been plenty of hiccups and snafus in California as things have progressed, and as the Times picks up, that's reflected in the sales numbers. In 2018, California reported around $2.5 billion in legal marijuana sales, down from $3 billion just the year before when the market was fully medical, at least according to stats maintained by the company Green Edge, cited by the Times. This is another one of those stories that you really need to swing over to for the full read. A lot of eyes are on California right now. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Closing out our top stories of the week is a newly introduced bill in the U.S. Congress as Democrats take control of the U.S. House of Representatives. Representative Steve Cohen of Tennessee, a Democrat, and Republican Don Young of Alaska introduced the CARES Act, a piece of legislation that would free up states to experiment with more progressive legal medical cannabis laws. You might remember that name from last year when a similar bill was put up by lawmakers, including Cohen and Young, as well as Democratic Senators Cory Booker of New Jersey and Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, and Republican Senators Mike Lee of Utah and Alaska's Lisa Murkowski. The new version of the bill was introduced yesterday, so we'll keep an eye on it as it makes its way through the sausage-making factory that is Congress. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the leading vertically integrated cannabis operators in the U.S. Now with a total of 35 dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 10 processing facilities, operating in 12 states. Curaleaf has spent the last year building out their operations largely in states requiring vertical integration. So they've had the time to work on their own in-house brands, which you can learn more about over at curaleaf.com. Their namesake flagship brand Curaleaf is sold in their numerous dispensaries and is designed to help registered medical marijuana patients find relief with THC and CBD strains and products. Their Curaleaf hemp brand is made using hemp-derived CBD, which is especially great in states where traditional medical cannabis isn't yet available. And when it comes to craft cannabis, their Yuku line is as top shelf as it gets. Dive into the details of all three of Curaleaf's main brands over at, one more time, curaleaf.com, with Curaleaf spelled C-U-R-A-L-E-A-F. Curaleaf.com, where you can also find the location of the closest Curaleaf shop to you. All right, time for the Blitz. Popping up to Canada for a headline, we have the Ontario government set to accept applications next week for the 25 dispensary licenses it will give out later this year. The submission window opens up on Monday and runs through noon on Wednesday, with winners to be selected on Friday and announced the following day. A quick bit of work there. Open up Global News for all the details. Canna blog is a great story up about California and the new packaging and labeling rules that will go into effect this year. The big bullet-pointed item on this is the fact that there will be no transition period given for many of the new rule changes. So you either know and comply with them or you don't and can't do business. If you're in California, this one should be mandatory to read today. Another story in California along a similar storyline to our previous headline, as on January 10th, medical marijuana co-ops and collectives in the Golden State will be required to have a state license to stay open. Those organizations serve medical patients who lack the means to pay for their medical cannabis and operate on a not-for-profit basis. Co-ops and collectives were given protections from being closed by state authorities last year, but will risk police action if they remain open and unlicensed after the 10th. The Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission is getting $3 million in additional funding to help pay for the extra costs associated with their new oversight of the state's medical cannabis program, which it took over just last month. That money is paid out from a special state account funded by fees paid by patients and dispensaries. Yesterday, a state lawmaker in Pennsylvania announced that he was seeking support from fellow lawmakers for a proposed measure that would legalize adult use marijuana, setting up a taxed and regulated sales system. On Wednesday, Democratic state senators tweeted a photo showing them working on an adult use bill in that legislative chamber, so expect lots of Keystone State headlines in the coming weeks and months. The Rhode Island Department of Health is holding a public hearing on February 10th at 10 a.m. to consider the use of medical marijuana to treat opioid addiction in that state. You can submit public comments to the state now ahead of a decision to be made sometime in April. And finally for today, Vice has a good story up looking at some of the options that exist up in Canada for luxury holiday shoppers looking to include a little bit of cannabis into their vacation. Or a lot of bit of cannabis. Marijuana-infused tourism is certainly a hot topic in places that are embracing more liberal and progressive cannabis policy reforms, and Canada is no exception. This is a good one to open up if you have lots of money and want to get super high on your next fancy vacation, or if you're just stuck in the office and want to think about getting super high on your next fancy vacation. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again Monday morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Curaleaf, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.